were not moments mad at the book. It's moments where I was like, sad or angry with things that happened in the book. So my first moment is the fact that everyone seems to forget that Selena is an assassin. So when Selena walks in with like a decapitated head from Lord Neural that she supposedly killed him, Dorian's like, oh my gosh, how could she do that? Oh my gosh, it's a dead person and she's wearing tunics instead of all these nice dresses. She's an assassin, Dorian. She's an assassin. And that just keeps going forward until it's less of it. I couldn't take it. We get to the end of the book and she has Archer in like a chokehold after Archer has admitted to being the one responsible for Nehemiah's death. And he's like, Selena, you wouldn't kill someone. You wouldn't kill me. What part of she's an assassin have you forgotten? She's an assassin. She kills people. That's the only thing that her job entails, killing people. So saying she wouldn't kill somebody is incorrect because guess what? She has, because she's an assassin. This next moment. Selena and Nehemiah's relationship, it was so beautiful in the last book, but all good things must come to an end. Their relationship was just corrupted by the fact that they didn't tell each other everything, and how Nehemiah was keeping secrets from Selena, and how Nehemiah was helping with the rebellion groups, and how she'd already seen the crypt and all these other things, and how Nehemiah brushed off the eye riddle, the riddle where it is not one you can clearly see with the eye, that riddle, how she just brushed it off. And then the fact that Nehemiah asked Selena to help free Elway, and then Selena's like, free Elway? And it's all just so sad because their last conversation was just so hostile, and all Selena can remember is Nehemiah calling her a coward. And then Nehemiah dies. My next yikes moment is when we find out about the word marks and how the things that the king is creating with the word marks and the word keys that he has. I was like, whoa, that is high-key V creepy. High-key, very, 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 very creepy. And yikes, don't want to be near it. Not for me. Another moment that really got to me was how frustrating it was when they were like, if only the king knew about the power of the weird marks and the word keys. And I was like, sweetheart, he does. He does. How do you think he was able to conquer so much so quickly? Like, he already knows, and he's just waiting to get the last word key, as we think, the last weird key. And then he's gonna open the weird gate and then screw all of society up. I also was disheartened at the conditions of Calaculla with the increasing prisoners that are enslaved, and the fact that the King's Council wants to increase Calaculla to hold more imprisoned, most of them being Elway people, so people that Nehemiah feels that she is deeply responsible for, and the fact that they just want to keep people working for them, people that dissent the king. He just has to crush their spirits and crush their hopes by enslaving them. And it really got to me. I was very upset and triggered. Rena Goldsmith performs, and she has this amazing voice, and she sings a tale that involves magic, and then she gets murdered with her accompanist. Yikes. I was like, wow, that was fast. The king said, you're not allowed to speak about magic, and you knew that, so now it's time for you to get killed. And Rena was like, I worked so hard all my years so that I could be invited here, so I could sing that song to you, for you to know that we are not crushed, we will never be crushed, and your time is coming. All while she's being put on the guillotine. My next yikes moment, Kale. Kale, you and your loyalty to the king, that's gotta go. That's gotta go. So the fact, and we're gonna talk about how this is concerning Nehemiah. So the king says Nehemiah's presence is being felt in the castle, and maybe she needs to be removed and go back to Elway. And first of all, I was like, you mean you don't like how Nehemiah is making your son realize how screwed up you are and how you've screwed up all of society and all this land that you've claimed? Don't be mad. Don't be mad. But the fact that King mentions that there is a threat against Nehemiah's life, and Kale says nothing, not one thing, nothing. I was like, dude, you have to say something. You can't just No, 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 no. You can't do that. You can't do that. And then, once again, the king says he's going to question Nehemiah. And once again, Kale does not tell Selena. Do you not see how this could be an issue for your relationship with her? Because Nehemiah is Selena's best friend. And the king doesn't like Nehemiah. And if there's a threat against Nehemiah's life, maybe Selena would like to know. Then Kale gets kidnapped, and I was like, no, my baby, my baby, baby, baby. When Selena sees that Nehemiah is dead, after running so hard and trying to get to her, and she's feeling so lost because this is just like what happened with Sam and how she feels like she failed Sam. And bruh, when she finds the Nehemiah on her bed, slain. First of all, I was in denial. I refused to believe that Nehemiah was dead until Elena said so. And basically until we saw Nehemiah come through the portal. I was like, Nehemiah can't be dead. She can't be dead. She can't be dead. She's Nehemiah. Nehemiah, she knew something was going to happen. Maybe she's hidden. Maybe she's pretending to be dead. Maybe she's in hiding. Maybe Nehemiah's going to come back. I was like, Nehemiah cannot be dead. Maybe that's like a fake body, a decoy body, a body that they use, that they consider with like a weird mark, like a fake body. I was just, I could not believe she was dead. Like, she was the light. And you can see as soon as she's dead, how like Selena just like, she changed. And while I do think Selena she like let her baddie out, her inner baddie, I was still just so sad. And then Selena, because, Nehemiah is dead and Nehemiah was her OG, she sees Dorian and she's got her hands around Dorian's neck and she's about to choke him. And then Kale's like, Selena. And so she turns to Kale and she attacks him and they're fighting to the death and Selena's got him and she's about to stab him. And while she's about to stab him, she's like, you will never be my friend. You will always be my enemy. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. Everything was falling apart at this point, and we're only halfway through the book. And so now that Nehemiah is dead, that news has traveled even to Calicut, where all of the enslaved are just echoing the news like down the line. And that sets the people off, bruh. And I'm like, yeah, go off, down with Arlen! Another moment that was yikes is when, after Selena has given Grace's head and given the names of the people she killed, when she was trying to save Kale, but the king don't need to know all that, how she and the king look at each other and they're like, I was like, no, why are you smiling with the king? Don't do that. Even Dorian was like, oh my goodness, she's smiling with my dad. And we're going to talk about a lot of the grief, bruh. The grief with Selena and the fact that Selena destroys all of her clothes. All of her clothes are reminded her of Nehemiah. But the horrors that could be unleashed if the word gate was opened by the king, or if the word gate was open at all, those horrors would be atrocious, devastating. So when Selena kills Yellowlegs, even though she had to kill Baba Yellowlegs because Baba Yellowlegs was trying to kill her because that's what witches do from that tribe, she killed Yellowlegs. And Yellowlegs has a bunch of people that love her, like her goons. And so her goons, other witches, may come to the castle and seek revenge. So I'm glad Selena's gone, but this could be very bad for Dorian. And then finally, when Selena realizes that there's actually a word key in the crypt in Elena's crown, and she opens the compartment, but it's gone, and she's like, so the king actually has this word key. And that confirms all of the horrors that he was able to have already with just that word key and another word key that she thinks he already has. We are only at the second book. Stuff's gonna get real. It was also really, really bad when Selena opened a portal to see Nehemiah. I get it, bruh. Nehemiah was your dog, and she's dead. I didn't even want to accept it, but she opened a portal. And when you open a portal, anything could come out of that portal, okay? The Cat in the Hat could come out of that portal. Like, who knows? It just wasn't a good idea. When Selena realizes that Archer was the one behind the grave killing Nehemiah, I was mad. I was really mad. Are you freaking kidding me? You wanted to kill Nehemiah because Nehemiah didn't want you to have the power of the word gate. Of course she doesn't want you to have the power of the weird gate. It means you can enact evil. And you're like, I want to make these people pay and all these things. No. And the fact that he was so dumb to admit it to her, I was like, see now, I thought she was smart. But now you're showing your tail and how dumb you are. Fix it. You never admit to killing anybody. When Kale launches the portal to get Fleetfoot, I was thrown. I was on the verge of tears. I was holding on to my bed like, no, why would he do that? And honestly, I know why he did it, but I was like, no, oh my gosh, ah. It was crazy. And then when Selena says she still can't be with Kale, even though she knows that Archer tried to put a divide and a wedge between them two, she says she still can't trust him because of the choices he's made. And I was like, no, please find your way back to one another. And then my last yikes moment, I was really sad. But when Kale agrees to return to Aniel to protect Selena, because he cannot let anyone find out that she is Faye. And because his father is so determined to get him back, he's worried that his father will stop at nothing to uncover what Selena is. So I understood why he did it. But still, I was so sad. First detective moment. We keep mentioning the obsidian rings from the beginning of the book. In fact, Dorian even notices that Roland now has the same ring as his dad in Parrington. Mind you, Kane also had that ring. So immediately I'm once again confirmed. And the fact that it's obsidian, I'm confirmed in the fact that this is used for the word keys and the word gate and to use everything for evil. Next, Roland, okay? I was sus about him, okay? Especially when they said that Mia was so small to warrant a new position. Until we realized that Roland, because he's from the same line, the Haviliard line, that he has small traces of magic as well as Caleton, and it all warps into the king wanting to use that magic to turn it into evil and to take them and make them evil, to make them the riders, if you will. Next, we need to talk about the reveal that Selena is Aelin, okay? At first, when Archer mentions Aelin, Selena's like, Aelin is dead. And I was like, ooh, is she dead because you don't want her to be alive because that's who you are and you don't want people to know that you're alive because you're not Aelin now because Aelin died in the water. Selena was born out of the water. But then we have Mort laughing at her name. He's laughing at her name as if he somehow knows because he was charmed, in fact, by King Brannon of Terrasen. Maybe Mort knows and can sense that Selena Ardothian was not even her freaking real name. Just a thought, just a hypothesis. And then, I'm proud about this one. I said this in the last book. I said that something about Deanna and the arrow would come full circle. And it did, bruh. And it did. Deanna is her great-grandma, Mab. I was like, bruh. Okay, next we have to talk about how Nehemiah and Archer knew each other. And this was first hinted about when Nehemiah is talking about a good noble court, like I mentioned before in favorite moments. And then Archer says Aelin, the lost heir, is trying to find what's left of King Orlon's inner circle, which was talked about as one of the greatest courts known to mankind. So already you have them talking about similar things. And then we finally get the reveal that they know each other during the rescue. It is only with the eye that one can see rightly. So immediately, some people we think about either the sword or the eye of Elena. And we think about the eye of Elena because literally eye. But then we think about the sword. And we think about how even in the first book, during like the pommel, there was nothing in the pommel. Like usually there's jewels or something delicate in the pommel, but it was empty. And also, I think it was last book, they said something about the king that he could see clearly with the sword in his hands. And then you think about it, it was only with the eye that one could see rightly. That's the sword. That's Damaris. And then this is unconnected. But the fact that when Dorian's like something in him opened an eye, I was like, wow. We're just dropping eyes everywhere in this book, like it's the Shatter Me series. That's just crazy. Next, we have to talk about the dungeon, and the dungeon connected to the library, and that dungeon somehow also being connected to the clock tower. Okay, so As soon as she saw those eyes, I could tell this was some evil that the king had created for his own evil ploys and schemes. I just knew it. Something in me told me that's what it was. Here's my hypothesis. My hypothesis, this is wild. This is a wild hypothesis. But I think the thing that she and Dorian encountered, the thing that was trying to get through and kill her, I think that that was actually Cain's body. Because, Cain was killed. Or was he? Did they use the word marks and the 2 word keys that the king has to fill his body with evil and stuff? Okay? And then, maybe, who knows? It's probably far-fetched, but maybe. Calton in the prison was talking about wings, but then we think, oh my gosh, Nehemia talks about wings too. And if you can hear the wings, and I was like, ooh, wings. And then the fact that the library dungeon leads to the clock tower, I was like, whoa, because Elena said from the beginning to stay away from there, and that there were the gargoyles around the clock tower that were looking. And we know that the king erected the clock tower because because we get that information that clock tower was added. And I'm just like, ugh. So then at the end, King says that his dragons, and what do dragons have? Wings. Dragons have wings. He says that those dragons, his dragons, still need riders, and he's breeding those riders in Farian Gap, okay? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, Roland and Calton, because they were just taken by Lord Parrington, and he says that it was to snuffle out something that was happening in Calcutta, the right and the enslaved coming up and saying, down with our land. But I also think he's planning on sacrificing Calton and Roland to make them riders for his dragons. And also, remember last time, once again, I'm bringing it back, how I mentioned that the king went on a trip with all those people, and then the people never came back, and Kale's like, what's going on? He made those people into riders too, with the weird keys and the word marks. He did it. He did it. And then we're gonna flash back to Reyna and her song, and there was this line, while they used her to win wars and conquer nations, they all feared her and kept her distance. And I saw this. I analyzed this as a metaphor for Selena, right? So Selena's an assassin. Everyone's scared of her because of the power she can hold, right? And then I also knew that this means that Selena and Kale are meant to be, because in the story, the woman ends up with the knight. And what is Kale? Kale is the captain of the King's Guard. Just a coincidence? I think not. And then we have the date that she has for his birthday. And the date is the Fae's Garden. Now that's also going to give insight to us realizing that Selena is in fact Fae. For me, trusting Archer was never a good thing. And I think this because, as we looked at last book, she said never underestimate anyone. So I'm looking at people. And there's a reason why the king thinks Archer is involved. And you know why? Because the king has spies. And so she should have taken this threat seriously, right? But there were a lot of trails that led to the fact that he shouldn't have been trusted. Like the fact that when he gave her all these people to investigate, and then the people mysteriously left, and he's like, oh, I told some head honcho to notify them so that they could leave. No, you're the head honcho. Stop lying. And then the guy that, when she was in the office rummaging for information, and the guy came in, maybe Archer tipped her off and was planning to have Martin, I think was his name, capture her so that he could explain to her what his cause was. That was probably what was going to happen. And then he took an arrow during the whole fight when she was trying to free Kale. He took the arrow to divert, which he said when he was admitting that he killed Nehemia. And then also, Kale was a diversion. Because Archer knew he wanted to kill Nehemia. And in order to get Selena away from the castle was to get to Kale. And so he did that on purpose. On purpose, I tell you. On purpose! And I'm not gonna lie, Archer's smart though, no cap. And I talked about this, except for when he mentioned to killing Nehemia. That was so dumb. And then we have the final piece. When the tattoos that Nehemia wrote about, she said, do not trust, and there was a symbol, a tattoo, and it matched the tattoo of Archer. I was like, don't trust him, he's evil. And the last moment, the last trick, I'm a detective moment, is Selena being Fae. Okay, so the first thing that kind of ticked off your senses was that she recognized Dorian's magic with a knife. No one else in that room, there were Ress, other guards. Kale was there. No one else recognized that Dorian used magic to freeze the knife except for Selena. Coincidence? I think not. The fact that Rena's song meant so much about Faye. Coincidence? I think not. The burial song. Once Kale found out that that burial song was Faye-ish and that only nobles know it, at first I was like, this is more evidence that she's Aelin, but also this could be evidence that she is Faye. And then it clicked. When she ran to get to Nehemia, her unnatural running abilities. Sounds like Faye to me. It does. Okay, everybody, I know that was long, but I really, extremely enjoyed reading this book, and I'm so excited to read the next book, Air of Fire. Oh, I'm so excited. So make sure you like, comment your favorite moments. I know I cannot be the only one that was just amazed by this book. Comment them, please let me know. And don't forget to click that bell notification so you don't miss out on when I post. Subscribe. I'm amazing. I think I'm pretty funny. I do great book reviews, I think. Yeah. So all that's left to say is bye-bye.